You multi-speaker, you gallery. Okay. All right. Everybody can hear me fine?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Great. I hate to be the teacher here, but if you can, turn your video cameras on. I like to see y'all. This is gonna be the last time I get to see y'all all summer. I do this to my students all the time, so don't take it personal. If you don't want to, that's fine. But one thing about Zoom I don't really like is the boxes people can hide. But you know what? I do it myself every once in a while, so I understand. But anyway, welcome. We haven't had an online meeting in a while, and um, I'm sure maybe there'll be some other people that join. But the people may have already started their summer vacation. I'm one of those that kind of already started my summer vacation. Samuel is actually on vacation right now. He's on the Gulf Shores. So welcome, Samuel. But so this is what we're going to do tonight. This will be the last meeting until August the 18th. Okay. So we're not going to have a meeting next month. August 18th, Bill Brown is going to be our guest host. Brownie's going to talk about his new book, Wartime Athletes, Stories of Sports Stars Who Joined the U.S. Team hardcover. We'll be back at the Spaghetti Western. If you can't come to the Spaghetti Western, feel free to join us on Zoom. And I'm hoping after tonight, we get more and more people to join us via Zoom. If you've never heard Brownie talk, especially about baseball, especially about things that he writes. I mean, he's very passionate storyteller. He's also going to give all year, since we are still celebrating the Astrodome memory, the 60th anniversary. That's why we invited Andy tonight. Since we're celebrating it all year long, Brownie is going to share a story about an event that most Astros fans probably know a little bit about. I don't want to spoil it. It involves Larry Dierker. So if you don't want to miss that story, be at the meeting on August the 18th. So it's a story that I know a little bit about, but I've never personally heard it from Brownie's point of view or even Dierker's point of view, because I think Dierker's going to be there. So if you don't want to miss it, feel free to join us. You can either join us at the Spaghetti Western on Shepherd, which is where we normally meet every month, but this is a special month, or you can join us via Zoom. One of the reasons that we're doing this is, one, Andy Greenstone, our special guest. I heard about him from Mike Acosta, and I was told that this is probably the best way to do it. And actually, Andy, I think you and I had talked about this is probably the best way to give you a presentation instead of having you, come all the way to Houston or something. We get the full extent of your presentation if we do this via Zoom or something like that. So does that sound about right, Andy?
Absolutely. And I'll walk around and show stuff, but I would love for guys to either share stories, share information, or ask questions while I'm doing it. I think I'll make it better that way.
Yeah. So again, this is a special event, and plus, if maybe all of you know or you didn't know, I just got back. I've been in Omaha, Nebraska, all last week. My grandson, as many of you know, play on a select baseball team. He's on the 11U team out of New Caney, Kingwood over here, and they went to Omaha for their World Series. There was 45 teams in the 11U class, and they had classes, the 9U all the way up to 14U. It was a big, huge event. They call it the Omaha Slump Buster. They have 4 different sessions, and we were in the first session. So he went up there, and they got done with their tournament yesterday. They finished second place in their division. So and their little bracket. So I'm real proud of them. But besides that, besides going to Omaha to watch that, I also had a chance for the first time to see a college baseball game, the College World Series game, and I was super excited. Was really looking forward to it, especially considering the fact of how much I had to pay for tickets just to go to this game. So I was not going to miss out on this game. And it turns out the game that I watched was Louisville versus Oregon State. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a future meeting. I'm actually going to maybe say something in a future newsletter and president's message. I don't want to give too much about it, but I thought here pretty quickly. Has any of y'all ever have any of y'all ever been to Omaha and watched a World Series game? Anybody here besides Mike? Anybody been to Charles Schwab Field in Omaha? So Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they've been doing this in Omaha since 1947. Is that about right?
Yeah. Yeah, I went to my experience there was at the old ballpark. So I've not been to the new one.
Oh, the old one. Okay.
Yeah, Rosenblatt Stadium.
Cool. Yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, they had these pins, especially I guess this is the 75-year anniversary of the World Series. So I picked up this, and just in case you were wondering, anybody, y'all follow college baseball, or are we all pro and little league guys? And I will say that I have a new appreciation for college baseball. I'm really starting to get into it now. I've usually just followed the pro game, the 1800s game, the Negro Leagues, Little League. I've never really got into it. And it may have something to do with the fact that I go to U of H and we don't really have a storied program. Although I wish we did have a storied program. We have some storied players, people like Michael Bourne, at least as far as I'm concerned. Michael Bourne, players like that. But we don't really have a storied program in comparison to, say, Texas, as some of you who are here earlier were heard from Mike. But I had never been there. And in case any of y'all know, they're playing a game right now. But the 8 teams that were there this year are Louisville, UCLA, Arizona, LSU, Oregon State, Murray State, Coastal Carolina, and Arkansas. And I heard those of you that follow college baseball, do y'all know what happened earlier today that hasn't happened since 1960? Something that happened today had never happened, haven't happened since 1960. Herb?
Yes, no-hitter was thrown by the Arkansas pitcher.
Yeah, a no-hitter was thrown by the Arkansas pitcher against
Murray State.
19 strikeouts, right?
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, it was unreal. So
he had a perfect game except for he hit one batter.
Hit one batter. Wow. So there you go. I mean, that's the great thing about a SABR meeting. You never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to hear about when you before you show up. So I mean, we love all aspects of baseball, and again, I'm finding a new appreciation for college baseball. So maybe also I found another appreciation for college baseball. I was talking to my grandson on the way up there, and I told him, Tetsu, I say, who do you think's going to win the whole thing? He says, why do you ask, Grandpa? I says, well, honestly, to be fair, Tetsu, I'm thinking about going to the casino and making a bet. So he told me to pick UCLA. So we'll see. So he bought himself a UCLA hat. We'll kind of see how it goes. But anyway, I'll share some more about Omaha in a future meeting or a future newsletter article. So I don't want to take up too much time away from Andy because I'd really like to get to his presentation. But one final thing I want to talk about. Again, we're not having a meeting next month, but SABR 52 or SABR 53 in Dallas. How many of y'all are going? Just Herb? Okay, I think some people that I've talked to.
We're
Robert,
going.
you're going?
Lucha, Phyllis,
So-
and Joyce. Lucha, Phyllis, and Gloria. We're going.
Okay. All right. Well, I talked to Bob Durrell tonight, before the meeting, and he said if anybody would like to go, he's not sure, but he might not be able to go. So he has a ticket. So if anybody's interested in going, contact Bob, okay, because he may not be able to go. So he is more than willing to maybe talk to you about possibly giving you his ticket or sell it now. I don't know. So if you're still thinking about going, and you haven't bought your, you haven't registered yet, you talk to Bob. So hopefully we have quite a few people from the chapter. I think we are. I'm going to get some final numbers from the SABR staff, and we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm really looking forward to going to see the Frisco Rough Riders. I'm also looking forward to seeing the Rangers play Seattle. I haven't been to that ballpark yet. And I'm looking forward to all the great presentations that are going to happen. And also the award ceremony. I'm kind of curious to see if possibly we can get not just a all-star chapter, but maybe an MVP chapter recognition this year. I think we did a lot of great stuff last year. And I think this chapter, as from what I see from other chapters, I think we kind of go above and beyond what other chapters do. So I like it to not only get recognition for the chapter itself, but I like to just share that with y'all because all of you make this such a great chapter here. So, all right. So that's enough as far as announcements, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, and I'm going to change the view here. I highly recommend on Zoom, you can change your view from gallery to like speaker. So I'm going to change the view, the speaker just for mine, because I'm going to turn it over to Andy and Andy Greenstone. I heard from Andy, heard about Andy from Mike Acosta, like I said earlier. Mike Acosta, as you know, is, as far as I'm concerned, the world's leading authority on the Astrodome. That's just how I feel about it. And because we are celebrating the Astrodome 60th anniversary all year this year, I heard about, actually, you had done an interview, I think, Andy, with Mike, about your collection or something like
Yeah,
that. Is that right?
we had done a chat, and then I also did something. I've done a couple of different things, but yeah, Mike and I have done a bunch of stuff together.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of where I ran across you, and I asked Andy if he'd be willing to come on and show us his collection. And as many of you know, I do the Houston SABR report with Mike Acosta, and I talked to Mike not that long ago on the last show. I think the one with that Samuel was on, and Mike told me if you haven't, the group here is going to be really excited. They're really going to kind of be almost kind of blown away with what Andy has. So the only thing I ask before I introduce Andy, and I talked a little bit about Andy, is that feel free to share some of your own Astrodome stories as he kind of goes through his collection. I'm just going to take a lot of this in, and I'm going to ask him a few questions to kind of get him going. But if you have anything that you would like to talk about, if there's anything you would like Andy to discuss, maybe more, if you see something, if you're not quite sure, maybe if there's something you would like more detail about, I mean, feel free to ask. You can use the raise hand feature if you want on Zoom, but this is I think this is a very interactive session that we're going to have today. So maybe you could just kind of wait till Andy's done talking and just kind of blurt something out. But
Yeah, feel free to interrupt because I'll be walking
feel
around,
free.
so I won't necessarily see a hand, but
Right, exactly. So let me introduce him. Andy is a lifelong Astros fan whose love for the team began during childhood trips to games at the Astrodome. Probably like many of us, we kind of had that in common already with Andy. I was the same way.
Yep.
Passion for baseball first took shape through collecting cards as a kid, but it wasn't until he began decorating his son's room with baseball memorabilia that his collecting truly took off. By a fortunate twist of fate, Andy acquired the largest surviving piece of the original home run spectacular scoreboard from the Astrodome, a turning point that transformed a casual hobby into one of the most extensive private collections of Houston baseball memorabilia. His collection spans the full history of Houston baseball from the Buffs era to the modern day Astros. So, Andy, to get us started, I would like to ask you about this last part of your bio here.
Yeah.
since you are going to talk about the Astrodome, you say your collection goes all the way back, I mean, from the Buffs era to the modern day Astros. So, Matt, so what is some of the Buffs memorabilia that you may have? I mean, why did you add that? Can you tell
We'll be
us a little
walking
bit about
around
it?
looking at it, but I mean, I appreciate the history. And so obviously, well, not obviously, but I wasn't around when the Buffs were playing. But for me, and I wasn't around when the Colt 45s were playing for that matter. But to me, I loved the current Astros. And for me, I'm more of an 80s type Astro, about 1980s when I started to pick up on stuff and just fell in love with the game. And so, yeah, started collecting baseball cards and I would trade away probably amazing baseball cards for anybody Astros. So, I mean, anybody, just to have an Astros. So I loved it. But as far as later in life, and let me back up. I'll answer your question. But I was decorating my son's room naturally with baseball stuff. And I love the Astrodome. And there was a guy on eBay that was selling for a long time a home run spectacular bulb. And so I had messaged him through eBay's portal and I hadn't heard anything back. And months later, I heard back from the man's wife and she informed me sadly that he had passed away. And she was reaching out because I had messaged some stuff and she found out that where I was living, it just happens that we live about 4 or 5 minutes away from each other. And so my single bulb idea of having for my collections turned into my son and I, who was, I don't know, about 10 at the time or something like that. And we went over to her home a few minutes away and she had what I'll show you in a minute, the home run spectacular scoreboard, which is the largest piece. It has all the original wiring and it still lights up. I've done that one time because I am afraid it will eventually catch fire. But yeah, so I love everything related to vintage Astros. But then when I started collecting and gaining pieces, and one of the ways that I gained all these pieces is because when I purchased this home run spectacular piece, she had a lot of extra bulbs. The gentleman who had this piece, he was responsible. He owned the company, actually, I think with his wife as well. Allied Waste, I believe it's called, and they were responsible for taking the scoreboard down during that when they were taking the scoreboard down. And so I bought all these bulbs, actually almost given to me because I made a big purchase of the other stuff. And so then I started using it as a baseball memorabilia currency. And so I started trading it, selling it, and I was able to just grow the collection to what it is, and you'll see in a few minutes. But yeah, as I was learning more and gaining items, I became more interested in even going back further and further in history, really starting probably with Colt 45s and then even into the Houston Buffs. So for me, I like to collect the whole story because I like to think of it, the room for me is a story of the whole history. So I love all of it really equally in a lot of ways.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. Also, one more thing to everybody. If you want to use the chat feature in Zoom, if you have a question or if you just want to say something, feel free to use the chat if you don't want to interrupt Andy or something like that. So,
Yeah. Feel free though.
good.
I'm really fine with it. The interrupting
Yeah.
part.
All right, good, good. Um, so you started, you just mentioned you really kind of got to a point where you were starting to recognize and understand Astros history, or you really kind of got into the game.
Yeah.
1980?
Yeah,
Is that what
that's
you
when
said?
my memories really start. I probably, yeah, about 1980.
Okay, so that was, I was a little bit earlier, but it sounds like we may be about the same age. So when were you born? How old are you?
73.
You were born in 73. Okay, all right. So I was born in 71. So
Yeah.
so from the very beginning, what is it that really was it there one specific event or one specific time you were like, you know what, this is what I'm really going to do? Because some of us, what we grow up to, I like collecting pens and things like that, or collecting, when I was younger, shot glasses, because I guess that's what younger people do. But what is the first piece of memorabilia that you remember picking up? Was it that light bulb?
No, well, I mean, if we're going to go back to when I was a kid, my dad got
Yeah.
me, it's around here somewhere, Jose Cruz game used bat. There was baseball card shop in Houston called Baseball Card Etc. And I absolutely loved going there. And that was one of the presents my dad got me. So there's that one. And then my dad got me I think it was a used baseball, but it was to Andy, best wishes, Nolan Ryan. So Nolan Ryan was my idol, my hero. So those were really a couple of the only that type of memorabilia besides baseball card stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's when I appreciated. Then go back many, many years, it was definitely the scoreboard, which, I mean, if it wasn't for the scoreboard, probably none of this would have happened because I probably wouldn't have met a lot of the people that I ended up meeting because I had this, and it just probably wouldn't have happened the way, well, I know it wouldn't have happened the way it has because of this one moment.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So those of you online, I mean, would y'all like to share what were your first little piece of Astrodome memorabilia or first baseball memorabilia that you got when you were a kid or something like that? Or if you want to talk about maybe your first Astros memorabilia piece, some of you online, anybody? You want to
Yeah,
share?
I'll jump in. Because mine happens to be right here on my desk. Let me take that off. It says, to Mike, my best wishes, Rusty Staub. And my dad was working for a bank, and his job was to get car dealers to finance car loans through the bank. So he called on all the dealers in town, and Rusty Staub, back in the days when guys had to work extra jobs, was selling cars at Mike Persia Chevrolet during the off season. So we went down there. He signed my Little League glove, and that is my first piece of memorabilia, and I keep it right here on my desk.
Great stuff, Mike. Great
That's great.
stuff. Anybody else have a Astrodome memorabilia story? Maybe your first one. Maybe you had it at one time and you don't have it anymore. You know, my dad worked at the Dome, and I remember specifically they gave him like an Astros raincoat or something like that, and he ended up giving it to me, and I have no idea where that thing is, but I think that was I think it was maybe 6 or 7 or something like that, where I just wore the raincoat even when it wasn't raining, and, you know, something like that. So I thought it was the coolest thing. So anybody else? Anybody? I told y'all this was going to be interactive today.
Hey,
Mhm.
Joe, I'll briefly comment. Many of you know I gave the presentation a couple of months ago of the history of Houston sports stadiums. And and it was actually pivotal in helping me prepare my presentation, was that Astrodome book that told the history about all the different events and how earth breaking that presentation was. So unfortunately I also went to the 1986 All-Star game, but I don't know where that program or ticket was. But I remember sitting in the pavilion, and I can't remember how much my tickets were, but a friend of mine in college, because I was a junior at UT at the time, so I was able to come back. So that's my bit of Astrodome trivia. I mean, memory.
Okay. Maybe one more, and we'll go back to Andy. Anybody else? Somebody else was going to talk.
Throw in there, Joe. One thing I don't have but always wanted would be an Astrodome red coat like the security guys used to wear, the ushers, because so many times when, I was, maybe 10 or 12 and on up into, a teenager, we would always be kind of sneaking down to the field box levels because back in the day, the Dome was rarely completely full. And so I don't know, Andy, if you got something in your stash back there, one of the Astrodome red coats, may have to consider a trade for that. But yeah, I always wanted one of those because that was, one of the things we were like the Railbirds, always trying to get autographs of either team, the Astros and the visiting teams as well. And those are just those fond memories, and looked on eBay and just have not been able to find a red coat. So one of these days, hopefully.
Good. All right. Thanks, Robert. Jay? Jay, you had your hand up. What happened?
Joe, I've got something if I can show if
Go ahead, Herb.
I I was at the 1986 All-Star game, and I do have the program right here.
Wow.
So it's I probably barely looked at it over the years, but I did to keep it though. So it was quite a game.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Dwight Gooden versus Roger Clemens, right?
Right. And Clemens, I think, ended up the MVP.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Thanks, Herb. Jay?
I guess you can say the first piece of memorabilia that I ever collected started with baseball cards at the age of 9 in 1964. And in September of 64, I got 2 autographs at the ballpark, John Bateman and Willie Mays. That's about the complete opposite ends of the spectrum that you could expect.
Probably so. Probably so. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Thanks, Jay. Thanks. So, Andy, the reason I'm glad you said that, and the reason I asked you that is that I'm sure when you kind of talk to people about your collection, maybe you hear stories about, oh wow, this is great, or maybe I remember that, or maybe I had something like that. Have you ever heard that from somebody when you've talked about your collection, Andy?
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook group, and so there are a lot of old collectors and old dealers. Ted Kennedy being one of the guys on here that I think they had not heard from a lot of people, and so it brought a lot of people together that hadn't had a chance to talk about the old days. And so there've been countless stories and memories of things that people owned and that they had and that they don't know what happened to, and amazing stories about people and their collections and stuff that's been part of their collections at different times. So absolutely.
Good, good. All right, Andy. So maybe I'll let you get up and walk around. Is there anything?
I'm gonna
Go
start
ahead.
with something pretty good, but let me figure out how to turn this thing around. Okay. All right. So everybody, how do I make it? It's just a tiny screen on my thing. Let me see if I can make mine larger so I can see. Nope. Okay. I'll just make the best of it. All right. So this is the Home Run Spectacular scoreboard piece I was talking about up top. That is what I got. That's really what started the whole collection. It's got all the wiring behind it. It looks kind of rusty and everything, but it still works. Yeah. One of the coolest things on this piece is, well, I should say controversial things. Can anybody, I don't know, can anybody see that? Or is that just totally
No, Houston Oilers, Bud Adams. Yes.
Yep. It is a letter. I'll read part of it. The Houston Oilers are proud to have played underneath such a spectacular scoreboard as the one in the 8th wonder of the world. Goes on to say, just the scoreboard spectacular will be missed by the Houston Oilers and all the NFL fans. So that's kind of a cool piece that came with the scoreboard and a little bit controversial since Bud Adams is a big reason why the scoreboard came down.
Yes.
But yeah, I believe there are maybe just 2 of these. There's just one of these. I think Mike has another piece of the scoreboard like this as well. And then down below, this came later. Tom Kennedy and I went on an incredible adventure to Paul Darst's vineyard, where he had some of the most amazing Astrodome items one could ever imagine seeing. And this is the controller for the Home Run Spectacular. So I'll show this part first. I'll go to the best part. Can you guys see what that button says pretty clearly? I'm not sure how clear everything's coming through.
Yes, home run.
Sir.
Yep. So that button right there is what set off the entire Home Run Spectacular. But there's some other interesting buttons on here as well. So when an Astro would hit a home run, or not actually hit a home run, but they hit the ball really well, the first thing that the person running this would do is they would hit this button here, dome up. It would put the Astrodome lit up there. And then if the ball was indeed a home run, they would go ahead and press the home run. Or if foul ball or whatever happened, want to subtract that, they'd hit the dome down button. And when I was talking to Paul about this item, when I got it from, I'm looking at this and I'm going, huh, any idea what happened there? That one says
Visitors home run.
visitors home run. So
Yeah.
I'm like, Paul, what happened when people, when did that button get pressed? And he said, never. Basically, it was an unused button. So if you look around here, the golf emblem, of course, that was there, that would light it up. Coming over here, there are some just crazy buttons on this. This part of the Home Run Spectacular scoreboard pretty much ran everything baseball. So that's the controller. That's how you would turn the whole scoreboard on and off. And then they had these crazy rotary dials, like player positions, batting averages. Over here, there was an inning selector. Balls and strikes would be done through this. You could even put the team's names, the positions. I mean, it goes on and on. All the stuff would be run from the Home Run Spectacular scoreboard right there. There were, I think, 6 or 7 different guys. There were more pieces to this, but these are the main pieces. But there were about 6 or 7 guys, I think, running this at any given time. I'm gonna go off a little tangent here, but when I got when I got all these bulbs, one thing I did when I was talking to Mike Acosta, he mentioned that the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown did not have a Home Run Spectacular bulb. They had other bulbs, but not Home Run Spectacular bulbs. So we made that happen, and cool thing happened is this is a picture here of my son and I after we donated a bulb to the Cooperstown. That gave us passes for lifetime memberships to Cooperstown. So we went, and it wasn't there yet, but that's up there in that part there. That's where the bulb would be. While I'm looking at pictures, this is a picture of the Home Run Spectacular. I mean, the scoreboard machine over here. There it is, probably early 60s. So that's one of the big items. Lots more to see, but anybody have any questions or thoughts or whatever on that?
Hey, Andy,
yeah.
I just have a quick question. How is the, at Dyken Park, they sort of recreated, how does the current sort of home run sort of variation of it work in the current stadium? Do you know much about that, or?
I mean, it's just I think it's just segments of it. I mean, actually, I've seen it obviously, but I don't know. I mean, it's similar. To me, it's nowhere near the same experience.
Oh, no.
In the Astrodome, it was like 474 feet wide, with the music. I mean, it's not the same, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad they have it. It kind of keeps the memories alive.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think I see the question here. I don't know what part of the scoreboard this is. There was somebody thinking, actually in that picture there, you see where it's kind of lightning like, but nobody's really sure. It may have been a lightning bolt or something like that. And feel free to ask questions. I'll come over here and I'll show.
Actually,
yeah,
Andy,
sure.
Is that another part of the scoreboard
Where?
that you were about to go to, or was that something else?
Those are more all the different bulbs they used. But you got
okay,
more.
Because one of our chapter members,
Yeah.
Wayne Chandler, was the first Astrodome scoreboard operator.
Oh, wow.
That right, Bob? Yeah, Bob, you're on mute. Yeah, you still on mute, Bob. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yes, he is and was, and be very proud of the fact that the exploding scoreboard was part of his creation, and it's kind of his claim to fame. He's been to several of our meetings.
Yeah, he was at our April meeting at Constellation Field when Tal Smith talked about his time with the Astros in the early days. Also, he wrote an article in our most recent newsletter about his days as the scoreboard operator and some of the earliest special effects. So, have you ever talked to Wayne, Andy?
I haven't. No. I like I said with Tom and I when we went to go see Paul, we had a nice long conversation about all the stuff, and he ran it for at least a couple of decades. So, but no, I haven't. That'd be neat.
Okay.
I'd love for him to
maybe
see
we can put you in contact with him, and he could maybe look at and he'd be like, yeah, this is what I did here. This is what I did here. That kind
I would
of
love.
stuff.
Yeah, there's some things on here I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, most of it's fairly obvious, but that'd be amazing. Absolutely. Oh, okay. So let me keep moving over here. So these are all the different bulbs, colors that they had on the scoreboard itself. I think this covers every color. Now, I get an impossible trivia question unless you've heard me talk about it before. Does anybody know which of these would be the most rare and why?
Which of the bulbs is the most rare and
Which
why?
color? Yeah, which color of the bulbs was most rare?
I don't know. Anybody have a guess?
All right, it's impossible trivia, so I'll just keep moving. But it's the aqua. So this aqua color here, it was. Does everybody remember like when the national anthem would go off and there would be a little bit of there'd be fireworks of different colors? Well,
Yeah.
there were fireworks and there was just a little tiny section that was aqua that was from the fireworks. It was the only section that it was used. So that is the most rare right
Wow,
there.
cool.
Yeah. And so let's move down to a real cool piece. So everybody knows Ed Henderson. Ed Henderson was the cartoonist who came up with all the great Charge and all the other great cartoons of the Astrodome scoreboard. This right here is the cartoon controller. So whenever we were all watching the cartoons go by, like these kind of things here, back here, right there, that was all run by this board right here, which is pretty cool. It's actually pretty small compared to the other one, but I guess it did everything it needed to do. And then over here, these are some of the original films that came, the Ed Henderson films that they used. I am not going to try, but I'll do a basic. So these films were projected on the back of the scoreboard, and then there were some sort of light sensitive bulbs that then would take the light and then light up the scoreboard from behind, the astro light in the center field. Somebody more tech savvy at the time could tell more about that than me. But if you check it out, so here's some of the films probably people familiar with. There's Pictures to Showers, there's Charge, Rhubarb. There's a bunch of them there. And those are the actual ones that came from the Astrodome right there. All right. If anybody has any questions, blurt it out. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep moving because there's a lot of stuff. So anybody ever seen this picture before? Know where it comes from? Back in the back. I don't know how clear that is. Does anybody know what that is?
Pool table.
Yeah, it's a pool table. Know where it is?
It's like in center field, maybe?
Yeah, it's part of the Hoffheinz suite, where Roy Hoffheinz had all kinds of stuff back there, including barbershop, bowling alley, putting green, bar, restaurant, all kinds of. It goes on and on. Bedrooms and all kinds of stuff. And he had a pool table, and so that is the pool table, and there are some of the pool balls from that table.
Where did you find those? And how do you know those are the original and not just,
Yeah,
fakes?
I think they are a good source. A good source that would be pretty trustworthy. But yeah, I guess there's no way to be 100% sure, but I'm 99.9.
Cool.
Those bulbs right there are not from the Home Run Spectacular, but from where the lineups and the scores would be. They're little smaller bulbs. This right here. All right, and more trivia. It's gold. That's your clue. What do we think that might be? I mean, it's a Rolodex, but anybody want to guess where that's from? That is Roy Hoffhein's personal Rolodex that he had on his desk. You can even see, or maybe see, it says Astrodome Club right there. All right, I'm going to sit down because it's kind of low. But down here, this is mostly, they had a lot of restaurants in the Astrodome. And the Astrodome was kind of one of the first ones to have really nice upscale restaurants. And so these items actually come mostly from the Astrodome, the club, and then there's a menu back there. There's actually the fast draw. Does anybody know what the fast draw was? Anybody?
Beer tap.
It was
Colt
the
Stadium.
Colt Stadium's bar and restaurant. And so that's a glass, and that's actually from the restaurant Trail. Oh, and I'm sorry, that's actually from this is from the Trailblazer restaurant in the Astrodome. This is from the fast draw. Now this item I'm gonna take. I'm sorry, somebody saying something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. This item is a game used baseball bat, turned into a wine menu. Oops, upside down. From the Astrodome Club. So this is what they would give patrons of the Astrodome Club to order their wine and champagne. Pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna hop up if I can get up. Anybody have any questions while I'm moving around?
Yeah. So what year would this be from? That wine list? I mean, that in the back.
Let's see. Oh, isn't that a 78 bat? So
Looks like.
and that's
Yeah. Okay.
yep. So there we go. I'll move around through quickly through some of the stuff, but I got some jerseys through here that I love that one. It's a zipper. This right here is supposed to be, or supposedly a peanut. What do you call it? Like a box you'd hold peanuts and go around the stadium box right there. And now I'm gonna come around here. For this chapter, it makes a lot of sense to do mention a little bit about Larry Durker. So we'll get to that.
Oh, what
So
about
right
that?
now,
I'm sorry.
what's that?
Is there significance to that helmet up there on the top of that shelf?
There
What-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you in a minute because we're gonna get to it because there's another one that's got a little bit more interesting. But yes, that's definitely 1965 kind of stuff right there. So it's definitely related to the Astrodome. I'll let you know in a minute. So some pretty cool stuff here. A lot of this at one point was probably in a trash can. I'm sure that the one up here, let me go up there. The Astrodome original employee entrance, the guy I got it from definitely said that was from the trash. This right here, anybody ever had a dome dog? There's the menu that you would have ordered from. And then these signs I absolutely love. One of my favorite items in the collection. That's a field box sign. These are like pancake double-sided signs that I think there were a couple thousand of them in the Astrodome. And then now there's probably 10. Back then, the Astros, the Astrodome, they threw everything away. They didn't really have any idea that someday somebody might want this stuff. But that's one of my absolute favorite items. There were different colors for each level. And so the field box right there. All right, Larry Durker time. So these are some pretty cool balls. This is a baseball right here from 1976, used by Larry Durker in his first no-hitter, winning 6-0. Next ball, Ken Forsch, ball from his no-hitter, I can't read that, 1979, I think. All right, come on. I'm gonna ask a question, get everybody talking a little bit. What do we got here?
The roof.
Oh, is that one of the colored baseballs they tried out when the roof
Yeah.
was given the mission? Wow.
Yep. So that would have been in 1965. This was sent by Charlie O. Finley, who was an eccentric guy himself. And when the Astros opened the stadium, they had to deal with that, which was just an unbelievable amount of glare. And so when they were trying to play day games as the Astrodome was opening, nobody could see anything and the fly balls. So they tried all kinds of stuff. And one of the things was to try different colored baseballs. And this is one of the ones that he sent over for the Astros to try. They tried sunglasses, they tried everything. And it's one of the only ones remaining. And it obviously did nothing. So with that, they ended up having to, of course, paint part of the ceiling. And then when they painted the ceiling, the grass died. When the grass died, they had to invent AstroTurf. Coming over here, this is the game used ball from Nolan Ryan's fifth no-hitter in the Astrodome. So there's some stuff there. Anybody have any, well, before I move on over and show some other stuff, anybody got any thoughts, questions, whatevers?
It's amazing so far.
Yes.
All right. So here we got some, this is kind of a sort of a prototype section. Well, some of it is. There's the seat backs from the chairs we all sat in, different levels. The mezzanine suite skybox, that is from the inside of the elevator that went to those different levels. So who knows what kind of interesting people went up to the skybox there, but that came from the elevator itself. Does anybody remember when the Astros used to wear these? Probably not. These are
Yes.
prototype. Yes,
Yeah, don't they still wear them sometimes? Rainbow
similar.
sleeves, those were a later model of the 70s rainbow
Okay.
uniforms. They wore those in the aughts.
This one is true. I believe. Okay, this one definitely not. But they're both prototype jerseys. This one they never had. They did have the sleeves, but this one, and maybe somebody can tell me if it's different. I think, well, for starters, I think the star is different, but I don't know that they ever had it as a button up. So if I don't know for sure, but somebody say something. But I know it's for sure a prototype jersey, regardless.
I don't know if they have
You're
the
correct, Andy.
Okay.
button ups, but they had them that look like that.
Yeah, it's similar. Not so much on this one though. Okay, so let's talk about some cool prototype stuff. So this is a 1965 drawing that was sketched done for Roy Hoffines when they were trying to figure out not only the team name from the Colt 45s to the next team name, but this is a potential jersey they were considering back then. And this is a sketch. This was later sold in the Hoffine estate auction.
They didn't wear that one.
What's that?
No, it looks
Oh.
like a spacesuit.
Yeah,
They
isn't that
didn't
crazy?
wear
But-
that one.
Yeah, I mean, take 1965. So everything they were doing was Jetsons and you know, very space agey.
Right.
So yeah, fortunately they didn't go that way. Although I can kind of imagine Altuve wearing that a little bit. Does
It
anybody
does
all right,
kinda-
Pretty long on him.
more
It does
trivia?
kind of have that George Jetson look. Yeah, it sure does.
For sure, for sure. All right, more trivia. Does anybody know, besides the Astros, what names did they think of naming the Houston baseball team after the Colt 45s?
Well, one
Oh,
of them
let's see
was
if
the
they consider-
astronauts.
Okay.
But Hoffines talked with Alan Shepard and said, would there be any confusion? And he said, yes, he thought so with the space program that was taking off. So they shortened it to Astros.
Yep. Well, here's one of the names they considered. My understanding, I've read a little bit, is this is one of the ones they considered the most, which is the Stars. And so that could have been the logo.
I
that's
didn't
from-
hear that.
Yeah, and that's a sketch from 1965, part of the Hoffines auction as well. The other names I recall are the Comets, which of course became a team name for Houston, and there's one more, and I'm just drawing a blank. The
The
Rockets.
Apollos, is it?
I don't know if they were considered for the what became the Astros, but definitely the Rockets, because I've seen the sketches for the Rockets.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking around. That's a batting circle, pretty beat up one right there. It's coming around here. It's the Biggio stuff, and a little model of the dome. Bunch more light bulbs.
So
From-
that banner that you banned, the 10th anniversary dome, is that an original?
Yeah. Sure is.
Okay.
So it's April 9th, 1975. Yeah,
I mean, well, was that did you, I don't know, sometimes they have replicas, things like that, or
Yeah,
I don't
this-
know. Did you get,
definitely not a replica. There's a section we'll get to where it's a bunch of the banners. As far as I know, none of them are replicas.
Make him an offer, Joe.
All right. So one of the best jerseys ever created, the Shooting
Yes.
Star jersey.
yeah,
That is Jimmy Wynn's. And this right here is Jimmy Wynn's contract for 1967. I don't know if I'm even going in the right direction. Anybody want to guess how much he made that year?
14,000.
Anybody else?
50,000.
25,000.
Nobody's got it yet.
What year?
1967.
Well, the major league minimum was about $4,000 then.
20,000 is what it says there. I don't know if you can read it.
40?
20.
20? Yeah,
20.
that'd be about right.
We were talking about the 1986 All-Star game. That is
Yes.
I think champagne or wine or something, bottles they gave to the players for that game. This is a serving tray from the Astrodome underneath that. And this is a lighter. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably pretty hard to see, but there's a little Astrodome on there, and that is Roy Hoffine's lighter. All right, let's come on over here. We were talking a little bit about
What's
buffs.
the whiskey bottle?
Oh, that's just me wanting bourbon up here.
I can understand that. Looks
Yeah,
good to me.
You could have told
That's
us it
the
was
most
Roy
sporting
Hoffman's
news.
whiskey bottle. We would have remembered.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is that some sporting news magazines behind it?
What was that? Was that a real what?
Was that some sporting news
Yeah, it's right when the
papers
Astrodome.
behind it?
Yeah, there's a couple right when the Astrodome was opening. Real,
Well, those are cool.
yeah. Now coming over here, anybody want to guess what that is before I go up close and make it
Yellow
obvious?
chair.
Well, that yeah. What's it from?
Hoffanz's office.
Kinda. So this is the best seat. Well, actually, you could argue it wasn't that good of a seat because it was really high up. This is one of 5 or 6 of Roy Hoffman's front row up in his suite chairs. And he had some pretty famous people up there. There's one of the chairs. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, LBJ.
LBJ. So that's him sitting there with his family and the Hoffman's family. But yeah, that's one of the chairs that came from up there. So they used that for quite a few years, and people sat there and watched games. And then, oh, this is kind of cool. So Hoffman's was smoking constantly, and so he had, in some of the pictures you can see, he had these. It doesn't really look like an ashtray, but for him it was an ashtray. So he had these lined up on this little bar, overlooking, sitting on these chairs, overlooking the field, and he would just smoke. So that right there, that's his gold telephone that he had. You can see pictures, I think, with LBJ and him sitting there, and then off on the side there is this telephone. Want to know something cool about the telephone? Here we go.
Go ahead.
Who's that? That's Roy Hoffman's. Roy Hoffman's had a picture of himself on his own telephone.
Okay, so I mean, obviously he used it for office and work, but you don't know if he had a direct line into like the dugout or something like that. Where he
Oh
called
yeah,
people
well,
or something.
let's take a look here. He had a direct line into the clubhouse, the announcer's booth. I don't even know what that, but I don't know what half this stuff means. But yeah, I bet he did. No, my understanding is that he could talk to anybody he wanted to. Whatever 314 is, I'm sure it was important because there it is. Yeah. Let's see. So there you go. That's my best stadium chair. All right. Anybody know what this is here?
Yeah, the Buffs logo.
Yeah, but that is a stadium medallion. So in 1928,
Yeah.
the Buff Stadium opened, and I don't know how you can see it, but that's Buff Stadium, and then there's the medallions up on the top. Those stayed up there until it came down many years later, and there are not very many of those surviving. Back when they tore Buff Stadium down, they sold these for $4, and I don't think they sold very many of them at $4.
So over the years, I mean, you say they sold it for $4. I mean, and some of the stuff you've got from the trash, or maybe some people picked it up from the trash or something like that. But
Yeah.
for the rest of the people, they pick this up and sell it on eBay, or did you find it
Yeah.
at a garage sale, or any kind of wild story like that where you were
Oh, yeah.
walking around a garage sale and you were like, wow, maybe people didn't even know what they had, and
Oh
you
yeah,
read it?
yeah. I've literally heard the story. There's a guy who told me himself he sold it. I don't know how much, but probably a few dollars at a garage sale. And he was telling me what it was, and that's exactly what he sold. Tom Kennedy on here, he's told me he sold a couple of them. He actually used to run the museum in Fingers Furniture. It was the Houston Baseball Museum. He was the curator for it, and I know they had 2 of those up a long time ago as well. That's a Houston Buffs hat right there. It's a new addition to the collection. I'm gonna kind of keep moving along because it'll take forever. I'm gonna open it up. But these are some game used items here. I'll kind of go quickly row by row here, but up top here, I'll just kind of stop on stuff that I think's cool. I like light bulbs. That's the only one of these that I'm aware of. It's an extra large light bulb, and in the lightning, or where the baseball shot out of the Astrodome, they had a couple extra large bulbs that would kind of give it a shimmering effect, and that's one of the bulbs.
Hmm.
That's a 1965 baseball signed by the Yankees and the Astros starting lineups for the game 1 of 1965. And then there's another orange baseball. This one was a dyed baseball, so it's not from Finley. This one was dyed by the Astros back then.
Do you know who Charles Finley was?
Yeah, the A's.
Owner of the A's. He was the owner of the A's, and he was using the colored baseballs before the dome was built.
Yeah,
or trying to use them.
That's what that other baseball that I'd shown. It was from him. One of the ones he was trying to get going in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's some kind of stick in the row. That's Jeff Bagwell's stuff there. Got the protection after he broke his wrist for his batting glove. And then we go a little more modern here. This is Jose Altuve. That's 2015. He wore those to the All-Star game.
Cool.
And then this is Biggio. And then you look there, it's kind of an interesting item there. That's one of his hats. Not only did it have the sunshine button, but it also had DK for Darryl Kyle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Down here, I'll go quick. But there's some more modern game use stuff. Bregman, Alvarez, Springer, Tucker kind of stuff down there. All right, let's jump back up here. Anybody has any question or anything?
Yes. Where was that gold chair from? I'm sorry, my wife called in on me.
The gold chair was from Hoffheins's, where he overlooked and watched all the games and had all of his guests. So those are the seats LBJ and Lady Bird sat in.
Okay.
In 1965 when the Astrodome opened, and it was there for a while. All right, so that is J.R. Richards' rainbow jersey, pants, and hat.
Mm.
So this one's impossible, but that right there, this says Astrolight on it. Fair Play was the maker of the Astrodome Home Run Spectacular. They also made the Astrolight, which was the part that played the cartoons in the middle. That right there where it says Astrolight, that is the emblem that they put on the very bottom of it that nobody could see because it's so small. But that's what it came on. It was on there for the duration of the Astrolight. This is kind of cool. Back in the Colts were just starting out, and they put out an ad for people to come and try out for the team.
You know, I remember growing up in the 80s, the Astros still kind of did that. I forget what year it was where they put something on TV or the radio or the newspaper for like young people to come out and try out for the team. And one of the running jokes with one of my best friends was like, yeah, we're going to go down there and try out for the team and see what happens. But of course we never did. But and we're talking about the late 80s here. So I was wondering if this is something that all major league clubs did, or maybe this is Astros specific or something like that.
Yeah.
That they did these little advertisements.
That would have been pretty fun to try out.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It was in the domes. It was just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, they did that frequently. They had area tryouts for people, and several teams would sponsor them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was quite common.
So right over here, this is when you're going, I think it would be right field. This is one of the digits, so it'd be an inning or a score. I don't know, can you see it? This is a screen on here. And anybody see a round circle there on the screen?
Looks like a ball hit that.
That's a baseball. So whenever this thing got hit many times by home runs, you can see a couple. There's several, but those were all home run balls that bounced off of it.
And
This
what
right
was
here,
it?
It was the right field scoreboard that had the scores.
Okay.
So that would have a single digit, like either an inning or a score,
I
be
got
one number.
Do you know if this part was pretty low or was it high? Or I just wondered how many people actually hit that part.
Right field, not that high up over right field. There would be the area you could walk in where the dome scaler was, and then I think it was just right above that.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong. It was right around there. So I mean, it wasn't that deep of a home
Just
run.
down by the foul line.
Yeah, pretty close. So it got hit a lot.
Great Clement story.
So this piece right here, it looks like a typewriter. but it actually was pretty sophisticated for its time. It was called the Flexor Writer. And this piece put every single message that ever went up on the Astrodome. So when you saw, welcome, Houston welcomes you to the Astrodome, or Nolan Ryan just completed his 5th no-hitter, or the attendance for every game, there would be a place right here where they would put paper tape or whatever, and they would, with holes in it, and somehow that mechanism would make that thing shoot messages onto the scoreboard. So that anything we saw, paging, whoever, that was all done through that in live. They could do it pre-programmed, or they could do it live at the moment.
So that must be the one Wayne Chandler was telling us about at the April meeting. He's 97 and he used to type that in there. And they couldn't find the words for the Star Spangled Banner, so he was typing them real fast on the typewriter and trying to stay ahead of the singer so everyone could sing along.
That does sound like that would have to be this machine, because otherwise, yeah, this would put all the words up there.
I just took a screenshot. I'll send it to Wayne and ask him.
Mike, I was telling Andy that again, Wayne has written an article for our newsletter, and he's been to our meetings several times. I think it would be great for him and Wayne to get together to kind of go through his collection and see if, Wayne could say, I used that, and this is what I did, and this is what I did, or going back to the original scoreboard operating machine over there that you first showed us.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. So this is another prototype kind of thing. This was in 1965 spring training. They wore these hats when they were trying to figure out the logo. My understanding is that Gene Elston is the one that actually came up with the star and the H above it, and that's the one they went with. This right here is a pneumatic tube, like what you'd go to a bank, but I think it was under home plate. The Astros would basically shoot out tickets to different parts of the park, or not just the Astros, anybody using the Astrodome, to where they would sell tickets. So that thing just was floating all over the dome. Right there, this was in the press box, and it is how they would keep track of the lineups for the games. So that sat in the press box and many years. Let's see. That's a home plate from the dome. This is a menu that was for the Sky Dome. They turned it into a scroll. Smoked salmon was $1.50. You can get a tenderloin beef $4.50, lobster tail for $5.
Woo.
I'll take two.
Yes, miss those days.
All right, so let's see what else. So I'll try to go. There's still a decent amount, so I won't take too long on some of the stuff. But there's some Nolan Ryan cleats. There's a hat that was worn by a press box runner, I believe. It's got the emblem, the dome up there. Some original program art there. And then when you would go up to the ticket booth to go get tickets for the game, at least in, I think, maybe the later parts of the dome, this is where you would see the different tickets and the prices. And let's see what else. There's some bats. Everybody know what that is right there?
That's a chair from the field boxes at Colt 45 Stadium.
Yep. Those would have been unbelievably hot, I imagine. Metal folding chairs. Does everybody know what happened to those after they left Colt Stadium?
Did they send them to Mexico with the stadium?
No, I believe the chairs stayed. The chairs ended up in the locker rooms. So if you go look on old photos online, you'll see the Oilers, you'll see referees, umpires sitting in these. I think they had them all over the dome for many years. And then they eventually started getting thrown out. And now there's only a few left.
I had a friend in high school. We went to a game on first base, and Carl Warwick hit a foul ball over on the first base side. And he ran over and he dove through about 10 of those and knocked them over to get the foul ball. That's how I remember him, because he scattered them everywhere.
Yep. That's one of my favorite items in the collection. Is when you're driving to the dome, you would come across that sign pointing to you where the Astrodome is.
On Buffalo Speedway.
And there's a ticket from the very first game in the Astrodome. The very first ticket in Colt Stadium. And then not the first ticket, but a ticket from Buff Stadium as well. So these right here are kind of cool. Remember when you see the player coming up to bat and then you would see their face like that? There's
Oh, yeah.
Jose Cruz. These are the slides they would put, and they would be projected up on the Astrolight screen, and then you would see everything, see the player up there. All right, moving along a little bit. Back when they were trying to get the dome, this is one of the posters they used to try to sell, get people to vote yes for the dome. Right here is a Houston Buffs jersey. And then I know I was being asked about this, so let me back up a little bit.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
Willie's suit.
Yeah, it's actually this would have been probably one of the uniforms worn by the one of the parking lot attendants.
No, grounds crew.
Yeah, the grounds crew had a little bit different one, but the helmet is the exact same helmet the grounds crew would have had. Anybody that doesn't already know, I want to take a guess what the uniform is encased in. Got to be a guess out there somewhere.
Carbonite.
Glass.
What was that?
I
He
just
said
say glass.
No, it's something kind of special. It's a skylight from the Astrodome.
Wow.
That's too cool. That's nice. Good presentation of the piece.
Yeah, it's not painted, so this is believed to be a test piece that they kept in the dome for decades. But you know, obviously they painted him eventually. So up there is another elevator piece. There was no 8th floor to the Astrodome. It was an empty space, so it goes 1 through 9, or 7, and then skips it and goes to 9. All right, I'm gonna take a quick jump into more modern, but I got a display for some.
Hold on a second, Andy. Hold on.
Okay, I'm back.
So you said 8. The 8 was just an empty space. Does anybody here know why 8 was an empty space? Has Acosta ever said why 8 was an empty space? I've never heard that before.
Well, if you remember Tal talking to us, the skyboxes were an afterthought. So there probably wasn't a space 9 originally planned. They put those in after they started construction.
If you look at a like a diagram of the dome and the different levels, you'll see that when you start getting up to 8 and 9, it's very small space because of the curvature of the dome.
Right.
And so, for one thing, I think they could only fit like one. They made 9, but they could only do one. I guess there could have been an 8 and then a 9 and 9. I don't know.
Well, there was also that truss, the lamella truss construction has supports that move. And that's what was on part of that level. So there's a mechanical support for the roof that has to have a little give to it.
So that was where the flex beams were when the ground shifted?
Yep.
Interesting. Cool.
All right. So I'll just touch quickly on the modern stuff. These are just some baseballs from some kind of special moments. And there's some pretty cool stuff over here too. But this is more modern type stuff. I'll back up so you can kind of get a bigger look and just point out a couple of the cool stuff. That is the batting circle that was used at Dodger Stadium 2017 World Series. It was there every game. It was there when we won the World Series. Right here is the rosin bag used in Game 7. You can actually see it in the picture when we're celebrating in the far left.
What year?
2017.
Okay.
That's the champagne bottle. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that weird stuff. Anybody know that one? Anybody?
From the
Is
train.
that a orange ball from Minute Maid Train?
It's an orange. Yeah, it's an orange from Minute Maid Parks Train.
Oh, good job, Mike.
It's from the train?
Yeah, it's from the train.
Hey, I get extra points for that.
Good job on keeping score. There's a World Series base from 2022. This is where to go? Oh, wait, maybe I'm going the wrong one. Oh, There it is. That's the first ball ever thrown into the 2017 ALDS. So that was the very first ball thrown in the 2017 playoffs for the Astros. And these are World Series balls from 17 and 22. And then there's a lineup card, first lineup card, first game for Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman right there. And some other stuff.
Both
come here.
ex-Astros.
And yeah, there's more and more stuff here that's ex-Astros. So there's a big old piece of AstroTurf, some chairs. That is actually Roy Hoffein's jacket right there. And then we were talking a little bit earlier about pennants. We had a lot of them back then. So those are up there. There's more going that way. There's no way to kind of stay too long on. Oh, here, actually, missed over here. So then I've got some bats. Game used bats mostly from the 80s, I would say, 70s, 80s. And then these over here are team signed bats, the whole team from different years. And then, I don't know the best way to do this. This is the part that freaks out my family. Anybody have any of these bobbleheads? Am I even on the right level? Yeah, there we go. Some vintage bobbleheads, which are real creepy. So,
what would you say? What those vintage bobbleheads? What decade are we talking there? Because I remember when I was in California in the military, I went to a Blue Jays game, and this is something I don't have anymore, unfortunately. But they gave away a Mark McGwire bobblehead. It was kind of a creepy
80s
looking
and
one.
90s because they all look the same. Then they started making them look like the players.
Yeah, these
Early
ones are
2000s.
these are 60s and 70s mostly.
Wow,
The ones I have
okay.
down there. But yeah, they've been doing them forever. So there's in here, there's just trinkets there's a whole buff section here. And it just kind of goes on and on. We could spend forever looking at that. These are some of all the tickets from the first exhibition games in the Astrodome. That's a piece of Towles Hill. I mean, the pole from Towles Hill.
Yeah, that's different.
Right there. Can you see everybody sees the piece of the wall? Kind of
The
turns
green wall?
there.
Yeah.
That's that section right there.
Hmm.
And then we're getting close to finishing up. As I said, my favorite player was Nolan Ryan, and here's some Nolan Ryan stuff. That's his actual jersey. And then there's a ticket from I think it was one of his special strikeouts, and then there's his no-hitter and his hat. And then if we kind of turn around, we are back here. Anybody want to see anything or any other questions about anything?
How big is the room that you have it in?
All I can do is show it. Here,
So
we'll do
how big is it size-wise, the room? Where all the stuff is?
how long? It's
Yeah,
What-
dimensions of the room.
40 something, 45 feet by 20 is my guess.
Wow.
And where is it? Is that in your home?
Yep.
Cool.
And there we go.
And again, this started as a project to just decorate your son's room, and it's turned into. I'm afraid to ask how much.
It's been pretty.
But again, this started as just something to decorate your son's room. So, what does your son think about all this, or your kids? Or
Well, they all think it's crazy. Yeah, I've been only allowed to have this one room.
Do you let your son in anymore?
Was that?
Do you let your son in his room anymore?
Yeah, he plays games over there. Yeah, he's up here. Yeah, no, he likes it. He likes the Astros, but he still thinks it's gone way too far, which he's right. So, yeah.
So what was the first thing you decorated your son's room with?
Well, right when he was born, I just put generic baseball stuff up, little random baseball stuff, and then we started getting a little bit of real basic stuff, and then of course I had the home run spectacular scoreboard, so then it went all haywire.
So where'd you find the majority of your things?
I mean,
eBay?
the best stuff has all come from collector, like people that were either worked for the Astros or collectors that wanted to get rid of stuff, or and then there's a lot of the smaller stuff, eBay. Yeah.
Yeah, like Willie Gaines was the groundkeeper for 50 something years. He started in 65 and he had one of those space uniforms.
Yeah.
And I asked him one time, and he got honored with Nolan Ryan and Roger Clemens at the last baseball dinner they had at the Astrodome when it closed down. They had him, Nolan Ryan, Roger Metters, and Roger Clemens, and Willie. And I asked him what happened to his uniform. And when they had that earthquake in Haiti, his wife packed up a bunch of stuff they had in the attic and shipped it to Haiti. And his space uniform, the original one from 65, went over to Haiti in a relief package.
Oh, no.
I could just imagine some guy opening it up over there. Oh, this will come in handy.
Yeah, wearing it to this day.
Yeah.
So, Andy, have you ever had a piece of memorabilia that you had in your possession and then maybe you lost it? Any kind of stories like that?
Not literally lost. For a while there, I didn't. One of those orange baseballs, I had traded it away, and I regretted trading it away, but it's back. But never, like, literally lost. No.
Or just okay.
Yeah.
All right. So okay.
Yeah. But wait. Here's I was talking about that. Where is it, real quick? Hang on, I got to turn this around. So I was talking about kind of what started for me as a kid, and hang on, I can't find buttons on this phone. Oh, here. Okay. Here we go. So if you see back here, I don't know if you can see it, but that ball upper right, that's the two Andy best wishes Nolan Ryan ball. So all this stuff is really cool, but that one is by far the most cool to me.
Personalized.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody have any more questions for Andy? Collection. I mean, it is it's a lot of stuff. I can understand why Mike Acosta must have just felt like giddy talking to you about his collection.
Yeah, we had some good conversations.
Yeah, imagine you probably spent 2-3 hours maybe talking with Mike.
Yeah.
At a time.
For sure, absolutely. I was going to say, and I don't know if he's still on here, but a lot of the stuff that was asked where I got a lot of stuff came through Tom. Tom used to work for Kennedy used to work for the Post. And then when he stopped writing, he eventually started getting into the memorabilia business. And he used to, when I was a kid, he'd be running card shows and memorabilia shows. And I didn't know him back then, but I've been fortunate to get to know him in the last few years. And he's helped me find a ton of this stuff. So I owe him a lot of gratitude. He has 2 memorabilia shops and antique malls around Houston. Yeah. Great guy. A lot of fun to talk to.
So is there any particular piece that you've heard about that you're really looking for that you just can't find?
Yes, and there's 40 of them out there. It's a turnstile to the Astrodome. I really think that would be the coolest thing to have. And there's right now, probably where we're talking, there's about 40 of them sitting at the base of the Astrodome, just sitting down there. So they can't do anything with them because of the status of the dome.
Historical, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, historical.
So they've got some seats, and then they have a bunch of turnstiles and some dugout. I mean, not dugouts, but lockers down there as well.
So it probably I probably should ask you, Will, what do you think should happen with the dome?
I mean, I would love for it to be repurposed for something useful. I mean, it's sad. It actually is very sad that it's just sitting there not being used. It's such a huge part of Houston's history. And I mean, it in a lot of ways put Houston on the map, and it is iconic. And it can't just, I mean, there's unrealistic things I hear people say. It's not going to become a stadium probably for sports, but it could be repurposed for so many different things, either to help the rodeo or to help the Texans. Some way, I think a lot of them, from what I understand, are fighting repurposing it, but I think it could be something that not only keeps the history alive, and there could be help us remember the dome, but also be useful. So I hope they figure something out. But as time goes by, it's hard not to be cynical.
Yeah. You're right there. You're right there.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for sharing your collection with us. I'm truly blown away, So, does anybody else have anything they want to say to Andy?
I just have one quick question for you, Andy. So
Yeah.
pretty much most everything is either Astrodome, items that were like signs and things in the Astrodome. Do you have a particular, I gave mentioned I have that one piece of memorabilia that, a lot of my Astrodome memories are not actually sports related. Is there something non-sports related, an event you attended that has, significant value, or pretty much all of your memories in the Astrodome sports related?
No, I mean, for sure the rodeo. I mean, I remember going quite a few times and seeing all kinds of great musicians and experience. So that I would definitely say I went to some Oiler games. Just as for some reason it's not the same to me, but the rodeo for sure because such a fun thing to do with friends and family. And I just remember seeing the Beach Boys and what was it, Alabama. There've been a lot. Rolling Stones I saw in there. Yeah, so for sure the music part of it and the rodeo part of it. Yeah. No, there's more to it, but for me, my love is baseball, but the dome is a lot more than just baseball, for sure.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, Andy, do you have a website or I know you've acquired a lot of stuff. You still trade? I missed this early. Do you still trade for things or?
Oh yeah, I'm always doing that. I have a Facebook group that some people are on. There's actually a lot of members now. So if you're into groups on Facebook, hang on, make sure I'm saying it right. Houston Astros, Colt 45s, and Buffs memorabilia collectors. That's the name of the group. I think there's about 3,500 members on there, and people are buying, selling, telling stories, trading. So I get a lot of people that reach out to me that way when they have stuff they're either wanting to get rid of or whatever have you. But yeah.
What's it called?
Houston Astros, Colt 45s, not Houston. Houston Astros, Colt 45s, Buffs, memorabilia collectors. So if you're looking for Facebook groups and you search that, it'll pop up. And there's constantly.
Andy, let me share my screen with everybody. Is this the right page right here on Facebook? Is this it?
That's us.
Yeah. So on Facebook, if anybody wants to join,
yeah,
there you go.
I will say one more thing, and that's that part of my reason I have that group and just my general collecting philosophy is to share and to make stuff that was maybe once hidden in a barn seen by other people. So I'm definitely working now with other people to try to figure out ways to have some of these items seen by the public. That's my goal. It'd be great if someday it was in the Astrodome, but if not that, at least somewhere in Houston where, if not temporary, if not permanent, then temporary, that people can we can keep the memories alive. So that's a lot of it, is to preserve this stuff and share the history.
And
which
you're
is fun.
located in Houston?
No, I'm not. I'm in Austin.
Austin, okay.
From Houston though.
All right, Andy. And again, I just think that what you did in having this a virtual online Zoom meeting, it would have been better, because if you would have came to Houston or something like that, I think we would have missed the whole experience with everything that you have. So I'm glad we were able to do it like this. So
good.
Hopefully, that was a lot of stuff to carry.
Yeah, not stuff to carry.
Maybe I have another question. Are you familiar with the Texas Baseball Hall of Fame? I'm sure you are.
To some degree.
Have you heard about where any of the inventory is, the memorabilia that was collected and donated by so many of the players?
Are we? So we're not talking about the Houston baseball, the one that was in Fingers, or are we talking about a different one?
We're talking about the one that Bill McCurdy had. Was in Waco at one time and got transferred down here.
Yeah, I've heard of that one, but I know a lot less about that. I know a lot about the one that was in Houston and Fingers, but I don't know too much about that one.
Well, there's some people who are looking for possibility of finding what they had donated to that group, and I think Tom's aware of some of that, and it seems to be missing. Some very valuable pieces are missing. We're trying to find. We had an inquiry this week about that. And I think Tom
Oh, really?
remembers because he got a copy of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that I have no idea.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. Andy, thank you again. Thanks for
Thank
everything.
you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks again. Thanks for the sharing your collection. Anybody, if you're not a SABR member yet, I mean, Phil, are you a SABR member?
I'm not. I need to
Andy?
become. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
This,
I
this
mean,
is my start of SABR, so there we go. I'm in.
well, you're in Austin. A friend of ours, Gilbert Martinez, he runs the Roger Hornsby chapter. He might be closer to you, but I mean, you could have us as your primary chapter.
Yeah, that would make most sense.
Samuel Barrett actually is in Alabama, and he has us as a primary chapter. So we would love to talk with you.
The Hornsby
We'd love to
chapter
have
is
you
the
come to the
Austin
meetings.
chapter.
What's that?
It's the Austin chapter.
The Roger, what? Gilbert's is the Rogers Hornsby chapter.
Right.
In Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, there are some people out there like Samuel who lives in Alabama, but has us as the primary chapter. So we would love. I think Andy and his Astrodome collection kind of qualifies him as a Houston chapter member.
That's right. You only have to pay dues one time, and you can belong to any chapter you want to.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You can also specify which one you want as your primary, so you make sure you get all your stuff. So a lot of people don't know they can join as many as they want, but yeah, Mike's right.
Now we know.
That's right. So,
And you can even go to SABR meetings when you're in Maui, Hawaii, like I am right now.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going out to the pool. It's only 3:30 here.
I got to go to bed.
all right, everyone. That's it for this month. Again, we're not going to have a meeting next month. We're going to meet up again on August the 18th in the Spaghetti Western restaurant, and Bill Brown is going to talk to us about his new book. Make sure I got that. I can't remember the title of it, but it's his brand new book. So, and plus, Bill Brown's going to tell a story, his Astrodome memory involving him and Larry Durger. So, don't miss out on the meeting. Hopefully, I'll see some of y'all at the SABR convention next week. If not, I'll see y'all in August. All right. That's it for now, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it. Have a great,
Thanks, Joe.
great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I have absolutely no idea. Oh, there it is. It does work.